Last week, Hungary's parliament voted to strengthen the powers of the presidency, just months ahead of parliamentary elections where longtime Prime Minister Viktor Orbán looks likely to lose out to Peter Magyar's TISZA party, who currently enjoys a roughly 10-point lead in opinion polls. This has aroused some suspicion that Orbán and his Fidesz party, which dominates parliament, might be trying to engineer a way to keep Orbán in power, presumably by handing him the presidency and reshaping the office into the country's most powerful post. So in this video, we're going to take a look at Orbán's chances in the upcoming election, and whether he could actually be positioning himself to become Hungary's president for life. Who is the most influential person in the world? Well, last year the TLDR audience ranked Donald Trump as number 1, with these people all landing in the top 10. But do you agree? Click the link in the description to cast your vote for our 2026 ranking. Let's start with some context on Orbán's political dominance over Hungarian politics. Orbán has been in power for most of the past 15 years, during which time he and his government have steadily reshaped Hungary's political system to his advantage. Orbán's government has introduced a series of electoral reforms that systematically tilts the playing field in Fidesz's favour, such as redrawing district boundaries to benefit rural pro-Fidesz areas. With the support of a national media that's tightly controlled by the government and a politically engaged diaspora that's generally pretty pro-Fidesz, Orbán's grip on power began to look unbreakable. On top of that, the opposition parties haven't done a great job of rallying the troops, and have either fractured, faded, or been tainted by scandal. Attempts to create wide anti-Orbán electoral alliances, like Left Unity in 2014 or United for Hungary in 2022, generally fail to inspire voters, and many still associate the opposition with unpopular figures like former Prime Minister Ferenc Gyurcsány. All of this changed, however, in February 2024, when a child abuse scandal catapulted Peter Magyar, a former Fidesz insider and ex-husband of the Justice Minister involved in the scandal, into the role of a leading opposition figure. After a series of high-profile interviews, public appearances, and the release of leaked recordings alleging corruption, Magyar rapidly gained national attention. In a striking breakthrough, TISZA won nearly 30% of the vote in the 2024 European elections, and in late 2024 overtook Fidesz in the polls by campaigning relentlessly on an anti-government, anti-corruption platform. As we see it, there are at least 3 reasons why Magyar has found more success than previous opposition figures. First, Magyar is drawing support not only from traditional opposition voters, but also from disillusioned Orbán supporters. His broadly conservative policy platform mirrors many Fidesz positions, including on migration. TISZA's economic agenda also echoes Orbán's big spending approach, but goes further, with pledges like higher pensions and doubled family allowances. Combined with a strong anti-corruption message, this lets Magyar look like a fresh alternative without alienating conservative voters. Second, TISZA is a single party, not a fractious opposition coalition. By refusing to align with established opposition figures, Magyar avoids their baggage and can present himself as new and untainted, despite his past with Fidesz. Third, and most importantly, the economy has turned sharply against Orbán in the last few years. Hungary was hit hard by inflation in 2022-23, peaking at 25%, which crushed real wages and left Hungarians at the bottom of the EU for purchasing power. To shore up support, Orbán has run large deficits to fund targeted giveaways. This spending, combined with the fact that the EU has frozen billions of euros in funding over democratic backsliding and rule of law concerns, meant Hungary ran a pretty massive deficit representing 4.9% of GDP in 2024, which has only pushed up inflation and stifled growth. Magyar's growing popularity is obviously bad news for Orbán, and persistent scandals have continued to take their toll on Orbán as well, with his party now something like 10 points behind in the polls. Then, last week, Hungary's parliament passed changes strengthening the presidency, which, though mostly ceremonial, is not a powerless role, and can veto government legislation or refer laws to the Constitutional Court. Unsurprisingly, this fueled speculation about Orbán's long-term plans, if he loses the election in April. So, what did these changes actually involve? Well, for starters, under the previous rules, parliamentarians could declare a president unable to fulfil the duties of the office, with a simple majority vote. Now, however, a 2/3 supermajority will be required, which effectively makes it harder for lawmakers to remove a president from the post in future. Hungary's government said the changes were made at the request of the president himself, who argued that the existing rules could make voter abuse and manipulation easier. But TISZA quickly condemned the move as further proof that Orbán's government fears voters will not return it to power next year. The changes have also led to some speculation that Orbán will be looking to put himself in the presidency seat and make it the country's most powerful position, effectively transforming Hungary's existing parliamentary system into a presidential one. Whilst the spokesperson for the Prime Minister called these rumours a leftist fake news routine in a post on X, Orbán raised the prospect of a presidential system after a meeting at the White House last month with his ally President Donald Trump, saying the plan was always on the table. If Orbán manages to pull this off, it'll be effectively the same thing that Russia's President Vladimir Putin did a few years ago. Putin stepped down as president in 2008 because of term limits and became prime minister, while his ally Dmitry Medvedev served as president. In 2012, Putin returned to the presidency after the constitution was changed to extend presidential terms from 4 to 6 years. Then, in 2020, Russia passed constitutional amendments that reset Putin's term count, allowing him to run again in 2024 and 2030. And Putin isn't the only example. Turkish President Recep Erdogan pulled a similar stunt after serving as Prime Minister from 2003 to 2014. He ran for the presidency, won, and then changed the constitution via a referendum in 2017, shifting Turkey from a parliamentary to a presidential system, transferring executive power to the president. For Orbán, a self-proclaimed illiberal, following the path taken by Erdogan and Putin to entrench himself in power is not as far-fetched as it might seem. As we mentioned earlier, Orbán has a long-standing habit of fiddling with election rules to suit his political ends, reducing the number of lawmakers in parliament and redrawing electoral boundaries. And a recent poll by Political Capital found that 63% of Hungarian respondents expected Fidesz to make more changes before April. Nonetheless, there are obstacles in Orbán's way here. He doesn't have much time before the election, and it would require the current president, widely seen as an Orbán ally, to step aside, despite his term running until 2030. Whether Orbán ultimately makes this move remains to be seen, but one thing is for certain: he's currently facing his most serious challenge to his long-standing rule. Now, as a viewer of TLDR News, we know that you're a details person. So you probably check at least a half dozen reviews by forming an opinion, or making a big ticket purchase. You'd read the nutritional information on cereal boxes. You even read the terms and conditions for some app you almost downloaded. So, when you're giving to charity, why should this be any different? Well, today's sponsor GiveWell provides you with those details as an independent resource for rigorous, transparent research about great giving opportunities. For example, their recent analysis of the effect of cash transfers in poor regions of Africa contains over 300 footnotes, which might satisfy even the most meticulous readers. That's because GiveWell has spent 18 years researching global health and poverty alleviation, and only directs funding to the highest impact opportunities they've found. These are things like preventative medication for malaria. It costs about $7 to provide a child with malaria treatment through the high malaria season. These treatments can reduce the number of malaria infections and, with enough treatments, also save a life in expectation. Over 150,000 donors have already trusted GiveWell to direct more than $2.5 billion. Rigorous evidence suggests that these donations will save over 300,000 lives and improve the lives of millions more. You can find all of their research and recommendations on their site for free. And thanks to the donors who chose to sponsor their research, GiveWell doesn't take a cut from your tax-deductible donation to their recommended funds. And if this is your first gift through GiveWell, you can even have your donation matched up to $100 before the end of the year, as long as matching funds last. To do so, go to givewell.org and pick YouTube and enter TLDR News at checkout so they know you heard about GiveWell from us. Again, that's givewell.org to donate or find out more.